Hey everybody, my name is Ryan Holguin, and today I want to talk about my journey of obtaining the Project Management Professional certification from the PMI. I obtained it about a year ago, and it was quite a journey to get to the point of passing it. I wanted to create this video as an encouragement for any aspiring project managers or anybody looking to obtain their PMP, because I believe if I can do it, then anybody can. I did this while juggling a lot at home. I have a wife, we had 4 kids at the time, and we were pregnant with our 5th, and we also homeschool, and so my wife stays home. We're on one income, and so I'm the breadwinner for our family. With that comes a lot of pressure of being present in the household when you're not working, balancing a full-time job, and then trying to, on the side, study and prepare for the PMP exam. But so first, I want to go through what are the requirements to become eligible to apply for the exam. And all of this can be found on the PMI website, which I'll link in the description. But along with my bachelor's degree, I needed to have 3 unique years of project experience, meaning let's say I had 2 projects that took up the course of the year 2023, I can only count 1 of those. So you can't have overlapping timelines and count 2 of those if they happen in the same calendar year. So you had to have 3 years of experience. And truth be told, a lot of us are working on projects, and we may not be formally a project manager, but we are working on projects. And so look at what you're doing now, see if you can distinguish between what you're doing as far as like what's a day-to-day task, what is a part of the operations of your company that do not have a definitive start and a definitive end date. But I'm sure that there's projects or initiatives that you are working on or you can start to work on. Ask your supervisor or boss if you can get on any projects and start to track what are unique projects that I'm working on right now and see if you qualify to then test your knowledge and try to obtain the PMP. Another thing you need is 35 formal hours of PMP exam prep training. I'll link down below the specific training I picked. It was helpful for me. I actually ended up watching it 2 times. I watched it initially. I wasn't technically qualified for the exam yet, but I knew I wanted to be a project manager. And so I just started to soak in any content that I could find. So it was really cheap on Udemy. They always have major sales. And so I watched it one initial time. I wasn't even close to taking the exam, but I took the course just wanting to know more about philosophy of project management and how does a project manager think. And the course I took really helped me shift my mindset. Like I said, I'll link that down below. Another great resource for me was YouTube. There's a ton of great channels out there for project management content. I would encourage you to search PMP exam prep. You're going to see a lot of great channels pop up. And so I'm going to link the one that I watched and that were really beneficial for me. Some of them really help, like I said, about the mindset of a project manager, because when you're taking the PMP, a lot of it is about mindset and how does a project manager think. My biggest takeaway was that a project manager really takes initiative, and a project manager never tries to release responsibility to somebody else or blame anybody else for the current state of a project. And so really shifting my mindset and adopting my mindset instead of like trying to understand the concepts and making sure I answered what sounds the best or what I think the exam wants, if that makes sense. It was about, in this case, what is somebody who takes initiative, takes responsibility, takes accountability, how would they handle this situation in this question? And a lot of the times those are the right answers. And so another great resource on YouTube was watching somebody go through a practice exam. And a lot of the times I would listen to this stuff while I was doing dishes. And so for me, I would listen to the question, I would pause it, and then I would try to answer it myself. And then I would see what the answer was. And that really helped test my knowledge of where I was at on that specific subject matter. And it was broken up in different sections, because whether it be about project execution or project planning or closing or anything like that, of the 5 project domains, there's a weighted amount of questions for each of those subjects. And so if I was lacking in one area, I would go and rewatch some of those again or do some more research on that specific domain. And so really trying to test my knowledge was super helpful for me, because the practice exam video was super long. I want to say it was probably like, I don't know, 10 hours long or something like that. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it was a really long video. And so I'd watch this at 2 times speed, listen to the question, try to answer it, and keep going. And this was over the course of several days. I believe the start to finish was about 3 to 4 months of studying is what I did. So I gave myself a deadline. I scheduled the exam about 3 or 4 months ahead of the current date when I signed up, just to give myself enough time. You want to find the sweet spot. I know some folks say about half a year. You certainly don't want to go about a year out, but you don't want to do maybe a week out, but you want to find that sweet spot of maybe like 3 to 4 to 6 months from when you sign up to when you take it, because you want to make sure that you are in that headspace of exam prep and you're ready and you kind of peak when it's time to take the exam. I personally never took any practice exams because I didn't want to go through the process more than one time. Even though if you do fail, you have a total of 3 times to take it within a year once you sign up to take the test. I fortunately passed it on my first time, so I was really grateful I didn't have to do it again, but I didn't want to do a practice exam personally because I don't feel like I'm a good test taker, so I didn't want to put myself through that more than I had to. And so it's kind of like marathon training. If you've ever ran a marathon, a good rule of thumb is you don't want to run an actual marathon distance in one session until marathon day. And so you might accrue 26.2 miles in a week of training, but you don't want to run a marathon prior to actually having to run your marathon. I took the same mindset because I don't want to take this again. I want to take the exam when it's exam day. I don't want to take it before and then do it again. Obviously, I watched somebody take an exam and I tested myself that way. I didn't have to pay for an exam, a practice exam. I was able to save money and just test myself that way. It might be best for you to take an exam to test yourself, to kind of understand what the flow of an exam is like. There's tons of resources online that are free that you can find to get a good grasp of what is a PMP exam like. Now, a lot of folks can find themselves getting so overwhelmed whenever they are prepping for the PMP. And if that's you right now, I would just encourage you to take a breath. It's not as bad as you think it is. What's going on in your mind right now is probably the worst it's going to get, as far as if you're stressing yourself out, if you're becoming overwhelmed. Maybe you're naturally prone to that. But I would encourage you to just take a deep breath. For me, I tried not to view it so much as this big moment that was leading up to exam day. I tried to take it in stride, and I tried to tell myself, look, you are project manager, Ryan. You do this for a living. You get paid to be a project manager, because I was a project manager at the time. I just didn't have my PMP yet. And so I try to encourage myself and tell myself, I am already a project manager. I do this for a living. Test, all it's going to do is validate what I already know. So I would encourage you in that. Don't stress yourself out. If you already have the job title of project manager, you are a project manager. Take that and understand that you are already doing this. You are already living out as a project manager. You don't need an exam to validate that you're a project manager, because you actually are one. In reality, you are one. Now, the goal is for you to pass the exam. That's the goal. So it's not to validate who you are. This exam is to help validate what you know, and it's also a way to open a door for you to see that there's more out there that you can learn. That's what it did for me. It helped me understand that getting to the exam wasn't really the end goal for me. It really opened the door to this world of project management, to tell myself there's so much more out there that I need to learn. This wasn't the finish line. This was just another step in my career, in my personal growth that I wanted to get to. And I want to go back to, if you are not a project manager, in title, you may be functioning as a project manager. Like I said earlier in the video, look at what you're doing on a daily basis and try to see if there are projects you are currently working on. I'm sure there are. If you have a start date, a definitive start date, you have an end date, you're working on a project. You are functioning as a project manager. So I want you to rest in the fact that if you are a project manager, you just haven't obtained your PMP, don't let it discourage you. Don't let this identify who you are. It's a great goal to have and to get, and I would encourage you to do it to the best of your ability. If you're not a project manager by title, you might function as one. And so rest in the fact that you have experience in handling projects. And so exam questions and an exam don't define your identity and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Now, it might validate what you know. It shouldn't define who you are. I just want to wrap this up by saying, look, I truly believe that if I can do it before I was even ready for the exam, and then rewatching my course again later when I did qualify, to kind of sharpen my skills, if you will, to then listening to a lot of content, free content on YouTube while doing dishes, putting my kids down, doing the dishes, listening to content. I really believe if I can do it, anybody can do it. I mean, especially if you don't have 4 kids, and maybe you have more kids, and more power to you. I know that we're all in different places, and so hard is relative to where you're at. And so my heart is different than your heart, and I completely get that. I just want to encourage you, if you're on this journey, keep going. Don't give up, but don't let this ultimately define who you are. Don't get discouraged if you fail the exam for the first time. You're going to get another chance, and it's just a lesson learned to figure out where you went wrong and what you can correct. But the PMP should not be the end goal for you. It should be a milestone in your journey, because I want everybody to do far greater things than where you're at right now and what you're trying to do in the distant future. Hopefully this video was encouraging to you, to let you know that you can do this if you're on this journey right now. All of the resources that I use are going to be in the description below, so check those out. If they're helpful for you, great. Reach out via comment. My email is also in my about section on my YouTube channel, so you can go there and send me an email, and I'll respond to it that way, and we can converse that way. But if you really like this video, you found this encouraging or helpful, like this video. That would really mean a lot to me, as well as subscribe to this channel, where I want to produce content that's going to help aspiring project managers or young project managers on their career journeys, equip you guys, give you confidence to be able to go into your workplace, your context, and achieve excellence where you're at. That's going to do it for this video. We will see you next time on The Practical Place.